Welcome to Messier Mantra. I am your guest host, Arthur Hiou. My guest today is a 29-time award-winning producer, director, actor, playwright. He's done basically everything in the film and acting industry. He's a close friend, and his name is Mike Messier.
Hey, man.
Good to have you, man.
Thanks for the nice intro. And co-writer to Arthur Hiou's The First Betrayal. Let's get the plugs out early.
That's true.
Because you enrolled me, or I enrolled you, to co-write a piece, The First Betrayal,
right,
which is a stage play. And I think it was about a month and a half ago, we had a really nice table read at your home.
Yes,
in Peabody, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to be here, and this is a special for the Messier Mantra audience. They're wondering what's going on. Why am I in the guest seat? Because you asked to interview me today about my stuff, which I really appreciate.
That's right. And for the viewers out there that, they might know Mike in a certain capacity, I don't really think they realize what you mean to the acting community in general. I know what you mean to me because you've personally helped me a lot with some stuff, and we recently, like you said, we co-wrote a play. But more importantly, I think people should realize that Mike is he's a man of many hats. So, and this is what it's all about. And he deserves this show because he is always the person he's the cheerleader. He's the guy, the backbone of a lot of people's projects, and he goes very unnoticed sometimes because he's under the radar type of guy. He likes to be involved in a lot of different things, and one of the things is this show, for example, Messier Mantra. So tell us what that means to you.
The mantra, man, thanks, Arthur. I appreciate that. And I do like working with other people and helping people with their projects. Of course, like all artists, trying to push my own stuff too, and it's always a balance. Messier Mantra came about. I was the host of another show here in Seekonk, Public Access 9, which is a great studio. The guys here are Cody Pioshoto. I always say their names wrong. Sorry, guys. Cody Piosho, Kevin Vidinha. I always get the N wrong in Kevin's name.
Right.
But they have been very supportive of me for about 5 years. Before Cody was a station manager, a guy named Jeff Fountain was here.
Right.
And I was the host of a show at this studio. I was not the producer of that show. The station manager at the time took me aside. He said, Mike, have you thought about producing and hosting your own show?
Right.
And I said, not until now.
Wow.
And so when Jeff had that conversation with me, a tete-a-tete, so to speak, I had a really wild idea for a show that, it was a great show, but it was a little too experimental. And so on the fly, I said, well, I've got one guest. There was a snowstorm, of course, it's New England. And so of the three people that I wanted to be here, only one could make it in the snowstorm, a guy named Scorpio. And
wow.
I said, man, I got to think of a new show because I've only got one guest. And
right.
Scorpio was such a magnetic character. Episode 1 of Messier Mantra, I said, I went with Messier, and then I needed a second word. And I like that alliteration thing when you have the M and the M. And
right.
I said,
looks good.
He said, let's just talk. Me and Scorpio are going to rap out. And that's what it really became, was just me and Scorpio talking. And then the Messier Mantra became, what is a mantra, a slogan, an expression? And I thought, of all these interview shows, they don't have a tie-in sometimes. You know, I said, this will be the tie-in. Like each guest will have a mantra, something that goes along with their life. And it really was necessity is the mother of invention. I think it was an album by Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
And or the Mothers of Invention was a band, something like that. And I just said, here we go, Messier Mantra. So it was very spontaneous.
Right.
It was an invitation by Jeff. It was a snowstorm. It was Scorpio being there for me. The next episode was our good buddy Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah. Great
and
actor.
This show, I think I've done about 260 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for you viewers out there, this is the first time I've ever heard any of this stuff. I've never seen actually someone interviewing Mike. So, and again, I do want a little credit for recommending this, but
it's your idea, man.
It's my idea, but this is something that I was very surprised to hear that people haven't done before me. So, I'm happy to do it in light of you have some big things coming up. Why don't you tell the people out there what it is that you are planning to do?
Yeah.
Maybe some of the items that.
Well, let's take a look at the photographs. How about
like some of the images we can talk about.
Yeah, photographs will lead into the big announcement.
All right.
I knew where you headed this.
All right.
So here we go. So right away off the bat, Avalonia 7 Theater Festival. More information coming soon. Live at All Beaches Experimental Theater, June 13th, 2020, Jacksonville, Florida. That'll be a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. I'm basically moving to Jacksonville, Florida. So there you go. That's
all right. That's a big announcement. He's moving. Mike's moving, and he's leaving the New England acting community. But we're all sort of like living in this like global village anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be back, but I wanted to take the opportunity and I'm actually honored to be part of this, and I appreciate you having me and and allowing me to interview you.
Well, no, this is great. I mean, we can go. So this is the new logo designed by my sister, graphic designer Nadine Messier. Tiki Wahini is her website, and she developed this. Literally, this I just got this morning. So this is brand new. The theater festival. I decided to branch out my film festival, Avalonia Film Festival, into a theater festival.
Wow.
And I just think it's important because I think a big part of my life, Arthur, that's been missing is theater. I think I love producing, I love directing actors. There's some headaches with producing, but with a theater, you get that organic live, excitement. You don't have to wait for the edit. You don't have to do a bunch of takes. It's either going to be good or it's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so let's see what else we got.
What else we got?
Now this is the film festival logo, and as you can see, I use the 4 because I've done 4 festivals already.
Wow.
It started in December of 17 in Providence, Rhode Island at Rhodeywood Studios. Avalonia Festival 420 was April 20th of 2018. The third one was December of 2018, and the fourth one's coming up in December 8th, Jim Morrison's birthday.
Wow.
In Jacksonville, Florida.
From the Doors?
Yeah.
Jim Morrison?
Yeah, so that will be at All Beaches Experimental Theater. People can go to distancefromavalon.com or Film Freeway, and they can find that Avalonia Festival is a top 100 Film Freeway festival. There's about 6,000 or 7,000 festivals. Mine's in the top 100.
Where can they go again? What's the...
Distance, DistanceFromavalon.com, distancefromavalon.com. If they just do a Google search, or if they go to Film Freeway, which is the entry website. So if people make a film, Arthur, sometimes they don't even know what to do with it.
Right.
And I meet a lot of filmmakers that have a good 20-minute movie, or they have a good feature movie.
Absolutely.
But they don't know that you go to Film Freeway and it saves you a lot of time and effort to enter festivals. Some people make a great film and it just sits on their shelf, or they show it at the local bar or the local whatever.
Right.
But they don't realize there's a whole world, not just a country, but a world of film festivals to get some exposure.
That's good. That's very important that you say that, because as an actor, of course, I know a lot of actors that they make these short films, and they just don't know how to most people are thinking of themselves as an individual, and they just want to market themselves, but they're marketing themselves to their friends and people that really have no influence out there in the world.
Right.
And your festivals, they're short films, but they're all different genres. They're all different, and the people that are involved in this, it gives them. It sort of gives it a credibility. It gives them exposure.
Right.
But there's a lot of things about you, though, that we'll touch on. And I know you're talking about the festivals now, but as an actor, as a working actor, as a professional actor, you've been in some decent films with some really big name actors and big productions.
Sure.
And you've been directed by some really incredible people out there in the world. And the fact that you're so involved in this smaller like film festivals to help actors realize their potential, their talent, and expose them is amazing to me, because the people themselves only are really concentrating on their own work,
right,
on their own like trajectory where they're going, and they're not really thinking about the collective like you are. You're kind of bringing it all together and giving them some type of notoriety or some type of like credit. Exposure. Yeah. So that's why it's very important. A lot of people think that, well, this isn't a Hollywood production, but they don't realize the value in like the training and the filmmaking and all the work that goes into even a short film, and bringing people together. And that's what I'm trying to get. I'm fumbling with my words here,
buddy. Doing
because
great.
I'm an actor,
sure,
and I'm guilty of some of that behavior myself. But meeting you and getting to know you better has given me a lot of what's the word? I can't find the right word. It's given me a lot of encouragement, and I appreciate it. But I think there's a lot of other people out there that appreciate you in different ways, and they just don't know how to really, put their finger on what it is that you do. I think that your acting reel. I just want to jump into that because I think your acting is, a lot of people are, they're surprised to hear that you're an actor because you do so many other things. Right. I want people to know what type of actor you are and your experience as an actor. So you might want to talk about that.
We got the acting reel. Let's show it first, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Mike Messier, not the hockey player.
Here. Take the mask off. Oh, it's okay, baby. We'll put it right back on. It's okay. We'll take this off just for a minute.
I want to be Spider-Man.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
I want to go trick-or-treating. I want candy, Mama.
Oh, baby, you can't go out there. Here your meds. Here your meds. Take that now. Good boy.
I know, and here comes Mighty takes back into the ring after that fine killing.
That's good. That's good.
You sure are prettier than when I saw you earlier. Don't go. Stay. I just want to be friends.
Excuse me, sister. Do you mind if I rap to you for a minute at the gazebo? Mm-hmm. Brother, you don't mind if I talk to the sister? Let me rap to her for a minute. You all right with that?
Don't be scared. I like taking pictures too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hey, come on. Take a picture of me.
Us?
Yeah, that's right. I've been posed. That nice for you. You sure can take a good picture.
Thanks.
All right, who in here is not having sex? Mike, I know you're not getting any.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good. You're good.
That's really good stuff there, Mike. Mike Messier's acting reel. Who we see in there? I think I saw Meryl Streep.
Oh yeah.
Sybil Shepherd. That's some pretty big company that you were keeping up there, Mike.
Yeah, I
you
played
know.
Sybil Shepherd's son in a film called Hard Luck that was
Right.
actually filmed in Rhode Island. And it was Annie Mulhall of LDI, Let's Do It Casting.
Ann Mulhall, huh?
And Mulhall gave me 4 auditions. That movie
Wow.
started filming, and they hadn't cast that character yet. And my auditions started about 2 months. And for the role that I played as Sybil Shepherd's son,
Right.
it was a battle, apparently, that I didn't even know about with me and another actor from New York.
Right.
And eventually, Mario Van Peebles, the director, he told me this on set with Sybil Shepherd, that he couldn't decide who he wanted, me or the other guy. And he let Sybil Shepherd decide, and she chose me to be her
Wow.
son. So, you know, I'll always be in debt to Sybil Shepherd and Annie Mulhall
Right.
for that opportunity.
That's awesome. See,
Yeah.
that's something that, well, I knew you were in the film, but I didn't really know the little backstory there you gave me about it. You know, and I think a lot of people that I've known in this industry, if your name comes up or whatever, people they don't know that about you. They don't. It's like, and they don't have to. I mean,
Right.
it's not a big.
They don't go to bed with their
Yeah, they're not
Mike Messier was in a
yeah.
movie.
Well, no, but it's important to know, because you're not
Right.
that kind of guy that blows your own horn like that.
Sure.
Like a lot of, like, I feel like some of the actors that are, you know, maybe like for the first time doing something, like they're over promoting themselves on social media and stuff.
Right.
But the good thing about what you do is you promote your projects, which is good, like, but you're not really promoting yourself. You're promoting a collective thing that involves other people, many other people. And, you know, like you mentioned earlier, Cody and Kevin that
Right.
are on this show, they're working on this show. And, you know, and look at this studio and
It's
look
awesome.
at, like, yeah, like, I mean, this place looks better than some of the high-end restaurants I have dinner in, and people I'm trying to impress and I'm like spending big money for, and to come and have this available to us and to you, and this is a really great setup, and there's great people involved in your show here, and
Oh, yeah.
and it's become a successful show. So
Yeah. I want to thank my buddy Steve Barrow, who's the sponsor of this show, because Steve's a Seekonk resident,
Right.
And as a guy now spending a lot of time in Seekonk, and I'm working with Steve on a veterans project about the MIA flag.
Well, thank you, Steve.
So Steve's a great guy, and you know, cares about the veterans and what they've been
Right.
through, obviously. But for me, man, you know, to promote projects that are involving other people,
Right.
as you were talking about, in theory, the other people should be promoting the project as well. Now, sometimes it doesn't always happen. And being a director, producer, writer, when you find yourself on social media and you're the only one pushing, hey, come to this screening, come to this event, and you're like, hey, I wonder if some of these actors could do some of this,
Right,
you know, that are
yeah.
actually in the movie,
Right.
or even show up for the screening, it can be frustrating.
Right.
You know?
They'd much rather, like, you know, show a selfie of themselves preparing to
Right.
do whatever they're doing.
Or they've
Like
moved
their
on
little
to another
Zoolander
project
pose
or something.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the guests on Messier Mantra, Raja Samru,
Right.
said, I asked him, like, what type of actor do you want to work with? And Raja said he wants to work with actors that are ambassadors for the project.
Right.
And unfortunately for me, I've discovered that not all actors are like that. Many aren't, you know what I mean? And they would probably do themselves a favor if they were ambassadors for the projects they're in, meaning push this thing, get it over.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
They don't always do that.
Yeah, it's that's unfortunate, I guess. But if ever we work on something, I promise that I will promote the project.
I appreciate that.
Is that good? All right.
Well, I mean, you
No.
know, we should mention our buddy Joe Jaffo Carrieri.
Right.
Joe was always telling me about you, and he was telling you about me.
Right.
And Joe was in a situation health-wise, he was having some struggles, but
Right.
he kind of was pushing us to get together because Arthur,
Absolutely.
he would always say Arthur's got this idea for a film, but he never told me what it was.
Right.
And unfortunately, our buddy passed away, and that kind of led me to ask you, well, what's this movie about? That Joe was always talking about, this movie idea that you had.
Right.
And then we kind of had some conversations. I think it was I know exactly when it was. It was December of 17. I had just filmed Dalmatian with the Shays up in Mass, and I think I was in a Massachusetts state of mind because I was in Massachusetts.
Right.
And it was December 17th, 2017 to be exact, because that's the day we filmed Dalmatian, and that's when I had a phone call with you as I was driving around Stoughton, Massachusetts. You were at a Christmas party, and you stepped out of the party to give me some information about this idea.
I did.
Yeah. And then that's what led to the stage play, The First Betrayal.
Betrayal.
Yeah.
Which I originally wrote this play that Mike's talking about. It was actually written as a screenplay, and then I have a couple other screenplays that I was writing. And I am plugging it, but it's because Mike is the one that's involved with it. And as Mike mentioned, Joe Jaffo Carrier was our close friend, and he was, he's the kind of he was the glue that kind of brought us together. And he did that with a lot of people, a lot of different relationships that people, have in this industry. He was that type of guy, a person that likes to bring people together. So I kind of learned something from him about that. And and we all could take a lesson from a guy like that.
Joe was very positive. I talked to that guy 4 or 5 days a week. And Joe, don't get me, he had a biting sense of humor too.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes talk about a character actor.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a thing that when Joe passed on at a young age, it made me want to reach out to you about that project in a way to honor Joe.
Absolutely.
Because Joe would have liked that, and Joe would have definitely been in that project. We even talk about characters that will probably change their name of the character to either Joe or Jaffo.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, part of my thing I've been doing for about 8 or 9 months, Joe's mom sent me some of his audio cassettes. He had a great taste in music, and bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, bands like Rush, Yes, and Triumph, this band that I never even really knew about, Triumph and Anvil,
really
and all these hard rock, heavy metal, progressive rock bands, late 80s, early 90s, some early 80s. But I've been listening to these audio cassettes on a Walkman. Like I had to go and buy a Walkman offline. This guy sent me a great sports Walkman Sony from 1988 or whatever.
Right.
And I'm listening to this music as a way of connecting with this guy because, obviously he's not here in the flesh, but Joe, I think, lives on, in kind of those lessons that he had of bringing people together. And to be honest, part of my reasoning for leaving New England, and not to get morbid, but the reality, Arthur, is there's been about 10 people close to me that have died in the last 5 years, and a lot of that's been like the last 2.5 years.
Right.
Like maybe, sadly I can name them. I mean, Ox Baker, who was, getting a little bit older, but a professional wrestling guy. Tim Hillman was an acting coach that I was the manager of his class. Right. And Tim passed away in his mid-50s and still had a lot to give. People can find his acting lessons on YouTube. I mean, just a guy that knew his acting coach stuff and was great. And I even talked to him about a week before he died and invited him to be on this show. Yeah. And he said, "I'll do it after my surgery."
Oh boy!
Well, that never happened. I mean,
Yeah.
So and then my buddy Bob Smith was in a film of mine. So not to get too morbid, but a lot of good people in this area. Christopher Allen, you knew another guy named Sean.
I knew Chris Allen. I worked with him on the film Purge. Right down the street in Rhode Island here.
Right.
And he was a good actor. He was a good guy.
So it is what it is. I mean, but when you get to a point in your life, Arthur, where you start seeing friends, family members passing away, and I'm looking at my phone, about 6 months ago, I'm like scanning through, I'm like, oh, dead. And these are people I had been talking to on a regular basis. Part of that is my reason to move on geographically in my life, because I feel like if these important people to my life are no longer here, then I kind of feel a little empty. And I feel like I need to change the station.
I'm still here.
I know you're still here.
I'm here.
But I've been telling you to move to Florida too.
Yeah.
But
I might take you up on that.
you
I don't
might.
know.
Yeah, I think you should. And
My wife keeps, sort of like, it's a little cold up here in the winter. And
Yeah.
she was complaining today, it's like 70 out, it's beautiful. And she's like, it's a little cold. I'm like,
You know, man, I'll be honest. The thing is, I wasn't born in Rhode Island. My parents were.
Right.
I was born in Virginia, and it's what's always made me laugh is like Rhode Islanders or Massachusetts, when they think of Virginia, they think of like a guy with a hayseed, and you know what I mean. But I grew up in the outskirts of D.C. I grew up in the suburbs of D.C. So I had a very I wouldn't even call. I mean, it was what it was, but I didn't grow up with the General Lee in my backyard. Let's put it that way. I grew up in civilization, folks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So when I'm when I'm moving to Florida now, it's not to get in touch with my southern roots or anything, but Lynyrd Skynyrd is from Jacksonville, Florida.
There
So
you go.
come on.
Well, all right then.
You know what I mean? But in any event, and I saw Lynyrd Skynyrd's last concert, Mohegan Sun, Memorial Day weekend this year.
Where were they playing?
Mohegan Sun,
Oh,
the casino,
down in, Connecticut?
the arena. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, to me, there's some things about New England that I'm going to be here 4 or 5 times a year at least.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's a 3. I mean, I like the drive.
Right.
It's a 3-day drive, man. To me, I need to kind of reboot. I need a fresh coat of paint, so to speak, on my life. And sometimes you can only change things so much. I can only change things to a certain point without geographically taking myself out of the problems that I have and going somewhere else for a fresh start.
Right. And that's all in the theme of your mantra, your never surrender mantra that you have. No matter where you are, you'll be there and you'll be practicing that mantra every day.
Yeah, you got it. That is my mantra, never surrender. And you know where that mantra comes from is the Ultimate Warrior, the wrestler.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he had a mantra which was always believe.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, well, I met him in 2012.
Right.
And he died in 2014.
I know.
So Ultimate Warrior, when he signed an autograph for me, he said, "What do you want me to sign?" I said, "Hey, give me like your mantra. Give me expression, words to live by." And he wrote, "Mike, do in your life what will live forever. Ultimate Warrior, always believe." And for me, the never surrender mantra, and I know it's a Bryan Adams song from like 1986.
Right.
But for me, never surrender really means as long as you don't quit, you haven't fully lost.
Right.
And I think about some things, projects that I've been involved in New England. Some projects get started, they don't get finished. Sometimes the editing never happens. You shoot all this giant stuff and it never gets edited.
Right.
Or sometimes the finances don't come through that you thought you would. Or sometimes an actor bails or whatever happens.
Right.
But I've learned, even having projects like that fall apart that I've been associated with or supposed to be in, sometimes a meeting with another individual with that project, you might have a side conversation. Then the next thing you know, you and this other person are doing something, and 5 years later, that has become a big deal, and you look and say, how did we even get to know each other?
Right.
Oh, because we met on Project X that never even happened. But because we met on Project X that didn't happen, this other Project Y happened. Why did it happen? Because X didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it, because we always form like these relationships.
Right.
And some of them kind of like take a nosedive, and sometimes creatively, you in this industry you have to really know what your role is. Like depending on if we recently had a table read at my home.
Yeah.
And I think you had in one of your still image pictures thing here. There's a photo.
Let's take a look at the photos again.
Yeah.
If Kevin and Cody put those photos back, we'll see if we can dig into it.
Yeah.
Now here's going back to Avalonia Festival. People, if they find it on Film Freeway, distance from Avalon.com, they can use a promo code, enter often AF. This is me and my acting coach, and we just hang here for a second.
Yeah.
Barry Primus was the reason I became an acting coach and probably a director of some. I was directing stuff before Barry, but Barry really kickstarted it because he was the first director of a Tribeca Films film, Mistress, came out in 1992. Christopher Walken and De Niro were both in the movie that he directed. It was produced by De Niro.
Yep.
He was in Cagney and Lacey. He was in Boxcar Bertha, which I think was Scorsese's second film, that he played opposite Barbara Hershey. And this guy taught me acting hardcore for about 6 days in a row.
Wow.
Like 12 hours a day with 3 other students. So it was about as intense as it can get. And more so than teaching me how to act, I think he taught me how to be an acting coach, which was not, the course was called Acting Techniques for Directors.
Right.
Up in Made Media Workshops. And you can see people eating lobster in the background.
Right.
But Barry, I always like to mention him to people. They say, well, why do you think you're qualified to be an acting coach? Because of him.
Wow.
So some people, they teach acting, but I wonder, well, why are you teaching acting to whoever the person was? They have no answer, but that's the reason why I'm qualified, because of him. We'll see the next picture. We can take a look. This is me on Neptune Beach. So I'm taking my talents to Neptune Beach.
Cool.
I'm wearing the Cobra Kai T-shirt.
Oh, there you go.
When I got
Can't
to
see it really, but
yeah. Well, when I got to Florida, Arthur, it was so warm in February.
Yeah.
I had to go out and buy a T-shirt, and I bought this Cobra Kai shirt.
There you go.
Which I love that show, man.
Nice.
YouTube Premium. So that's in February. So I know that it's going to be hot in the summer, but I'll be okay. And this is me and Mario Van Peebles. Now, we talked about Mario giving credit on set to Sybil Shepherd for choosing me to play her son. But Mario was a great director. He was such a casual guy, man. He was so casual, so relaxed. We had a fun fight scene. Wesley Snipes is in the movie, and it was sort of a sort of sequel to New Jack City.
Oh yeah.
But Mario, man, he's a great guy. I'd love to work with him again.
That's
he's
beautiful.
He's a hard guy to get a hold of, though. I've been trying for 10 years, Mario. This is me. I'm available as an acting coach online. My buddy David Gear. This is on the set of one of his films.
Wow. Yeah, David's a great guy.
Yeah, Blue Line. It's been retitled, but Blue Line is out now. It's got a new title, and this is my buddy Chris Boylston's in the background, working crew with the hat. But I always like using this picture as my IMDb sometimes because I like this photo.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The hair is, I think, by Lori Granny Hayes. She gave me like a doopy-doo haircut.
Yeah,
she always likes to make me
makeover.
Italian somehow.
Oh, good.
That's okay.
It's all right.
Yeah, she always. This was a piece I was really happy with. This was at Barstool Stories 1. Scott Bannister produced it.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, the concept was by Michael Gonza. You know, and give credit to Gonza for his guerrilla theater revolution. But this is the Shays, great people. Ashley Shay, Jack Shay.
Yeah, you wrote this one.
I wrote it and directed it, and we also made a film out of this, which people can see on YouTube for free.
I felt like I was watching a soap opera.
Well, okay.
You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
I mean, like
Right.
you know, I don't, it's a compliment to your work.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like, it was, they have a good chemistry as actors together.
Oh, yeah. Well,
of course, they're husband and wife.
Right, in real life.
Yeah, in real life.
Now, this is my buddy Tommy DiNucci engineered this whole night.
There's Tommy.
Tommy's in the orange.
Gear.
I'm on Tommy's left. I'm the big guy in the picture. Sully Erna.
Is that you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's me with the finger pointing. And David Gear, once again, the king of Cromwell. But Tommy got us hooked up with Sully Erna to be behind the scenes.
Godsmack.
And that picture in the back, where you see the framed Lynyrd Skynyrd poster or T-shirt, that's because that was the very last Lynyrd Skynyrd show ever, apparently.
Wow.
Unless they have we're unretired tour, but that was supposed to be their retirement tour. And I had gone to that show just a couple of weeks earlier. So this is pretty recent. This is in July. And we had a good time. And Sully, man, he's got a great daughter himself. He's got a wife. So he's a cool dude.
Looks like you guys had a good time.
This was a poetry teacher of mine, Stuart Deschelle. He wrote a book called Good Hope Road, and I went to see Stuart, and I hadn't seen him. He was a poetry teacher in Greensboro. This is in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm drinking like a $5 kombucha drink. Stuart's drinking a $2 coffee. So when I saw Stuart after years and years, and I was his student, and he looked at me and said, "You look disturbingly the same." So
he said it to you?
Yeah, he said that to me.
Wow.
I look disturbingly the same.
Disturbingly? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Well, it means I look the same, like I hadn't aged.
You think it was that $5 kombucha or whatever you were drinking?
It was.
Yeah.
And you see some random dude's head in between my finger knuckles and his
little
shoulder
guy
blade.
there, photobomb.
Yeah, right. Here's you, buddy.
There's me with my Zoolander pose.
And who's our guy? Is this James?
That's James Leet.
Yes, of course.
He's a great actor and comedian. he's a stand-up comic, and he's a commercial and film actor, and he's a very good friend of mine, and yours too now.
Yeah, and we had the table read your house for the first betrayal, and James wanted to take that picture. I'm glad he did, because that was the only picture of me and you together, because we were both scrambling around. You were a great host.
I just sucked on a lemon or something.
You've got the photo girl fish, like the selfie girl face.
Exactly.
Let's see what we got next. Right. And this was the impeccable. Rhode Island International Film Festival has been very good to me over the years. They debuted a film of mine called The Nature of the Flame. Right. This was this past summer, August 11th, 12:15, the Rizzi Metcalf Auditorium. Naria or Naria, as I say.
Naira.
You say Naira, I say Naria.
That's how she says it too.
Oh,
so.
okay.
So she made it abundantly clear to us at our table read, and I've known her for some years now, and she says Naira.
All right.
Zakarian.
And there was Ashley Shea and Adam Lamper and Bass from The Impeccable.
Right.
This is me and a special buddy who's shaking my hand.
Yeah, that's my dog, Jazz.
Jazz is cool, man. And this was some stuff I did. I should mention, people, it's Pigfont is a great program online.
What is it called?
Pigfont.com. So when
Pigfont?
you use Pigfont, Picfont,
All right.
Pigfont editor.
Font editor.
What I'm talking about is how I put the text on the photos.
Right, yeah,
so I'm
absolutely.
giving away secrets of my trade
I know,
here.
it's good.
But
It's
that's
good
how I
work.
make these photos with the nice words on them through Pigfont. And the stage play by Hiou and Messier, the first table read, was the first betrayal. And Jazz was a good host, as you were.
Thank you.
I like that picture.
We were happy to have you there. That's a really good dog right there. That dog there is probably my best friend.
Yeah.
So if he likes you, then you're in good company there.
Oh, he was cool. Now this lady was Judith Lynne Stillman. She won an award at Avalonia Festival 1.
Wow.
So that was December of 17, and I gave her a special award, the Bannister Award for basically women empowerment in the arts, to be succinct, and also Rhode Islanders empowerment in the arts.
Wow.
Political and social change. It was named after a lady, it was basically an African-American, Native American lady in a time when that was a very difficult situation to be in.
Right.
So I gave her the Bannister Award in honor of Judith's work.
Right.
And that was at the Brooklyn Coffee and Tea House, Rhodeywood Studios.
Cool.
This is me right here on this set with Shalini Kashyap, who was on Messier Mantra about 2 or 3 months ago, and she was Mrs. India, New England. So her show has been the most popular episode of Messier Mantra so far. Because before this one.
Yeah.
But Shalini shares the episodes a lot on her social media, which all guests should be doing. But Shalini is very good about sharing the episode. She got over 1,000 views in about 2 weeks, or not, maybe less. And this is me in Jacksonville. I was at the Jack's Film Bar, which is a group, Monday night group. My friend Jacqueline Cole, who's an actress who was in New England, Newport, and she's moved to Jacksonville. She told me about this film bar group, and this was like a February night, and I think that says, the sign in the background says, "Don't eat the alligators or they'll eat you first," or something to that effect. Yeah. But this is the old selfie, and I was kind of even sweating because it was warm.
Right.
Let's see what we got next. This is my, I know I play
I like
football.
that one, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Get some good stats there. What do you got there? One season, is it?
Well, I was
you
a
had
rookie.
12, what's this, the Russian record? 12 attempts, maybe 105 yards, and you average 8.8. Wow, that's pretty good.
Thanks, man.
Per
I'm
carry.
working on it. Yeah.
No touchdowns, though, I noticed, huh?
Well, you know.
That's all right. That's a good card there. You know, nobody expects. What were you, an offensive lineman?
Yeah, linebacker.
Because you're a linebacker.
Yeah, man.
So then, but it says you have a Russian record there. So I don't,
Well, utility guy.
Oh, okay, all right.
Let's see what we got next.
Special teamer.
So this is some good guys. So you're the guy was my buddy Tim Labonte, lower left. Tim's really been helping me tremendously. Talk about people that you'll miss, guys like yourself, Tim Labonte, my DP editor. Right. But I'll be around.
Of course you will.
But Tim has helped me make so many projects over the years. And so
awesome.
you're the guy we shot in one day.
Wow.
This was the whole cast and crew right here.
There it is.
And Bradley Rhodes as Paulie Smith. Robert John Kennelly was a producer and also
Nice.
played in the movie. And this is a fun film, and we're sending this to festivals now.
Cool.
See what we got next.
So-
This is The Mortified. This is me acting in a piece. The Main Media Workshops, a guy named Michael Zamito from Boston directed me. He wanted me to act in this thing, and this was a very dark thing about a mortician. So I played the mortician.
Was he in something recently?
Michael probably. I mean, Michael's an actor and a very good one. And we met in Barry Primus's class.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got next. This is Larry Moss.
Yep.
The Intent to Live.
Actually, I have his book in my bag right now. Larry Moss, yeah.
He's a great acting writer and coach. And this
Right.
was in his apartment in September 13th, 2013.
Wow.
I was there for a friend of mine was auditioning for for a project, and he wanted Larry Moss to help him. And I came along for the ride for moral support. And I had been coaching my friend before Larry did, so I kind of passed the torch of acting on this thing over to Larry. He was a great guy. And this is what was filmed right here, buddy. Messier Peace Theater with good friends of both of ours, Kathy Lachey Barrison and Mary Beth Paul. They're both from Mass.
Right.
And Rita Roy did a great job with these photos. Kevin and Cody at the studio, or Cody and Kevin as they're sometimes known. We had a guy, Wes, help on one episode.
Right.
But Rita really was a great photographer for this thing, an assistant director when we shot it.
Right.
Naria, once again.
Naira.
This won her an award,
Nice.
Shauna Shea Spring Shorts Film Festival. My buddy Skip Shea is a great guy, and his festival's coming up in October. And we won an award for Best Supporting Actress Performance for Naria.
Good for her.
Yeah, we were also nominated for Best Local Short, so I feel very good. That's The Impeccable, yeah.
Cool.
And this is something I've been doing, man, as a playwright. I've been working with this playsubmissionshelper.com. If people go there and they use the promo code Mike, they can get their first month for 99 cents, and they can send their stage plays to theaters across the world, not just the country, but the world. And they can try it out for 99 cents for the first month. After that, it's $6.99 a month. It's very empowering, because if you're a playwright and you just have a play sitting on a desk, what good does it do you?
Absolutely.
You want to send that thing out there and see if people want to make it. So I
That's
encourage.
a great idea.
Thanks. Yeah, and I met with the owner of the company. That's why I have the promo code with my name, because I had so many ideas for this website. I met with the owner of the company. He listened to me. We had a good talk for an hour and a half. And then a couple days later, he called me and said, "Hey, Mike, we're going to use a promo code Mike. Try to get more people on this website, and we're going to try to implement some of your ideas when we can."
Right.
So let's see if there's any more photos. This is me and Tommy Danucci took this photo of me and Sully Erna. And Sully is a singer of Godsmack. This was at a concert in the summer of '18. And I've got my Blame Vince t-shirt. And Sully had just performed for like 2 or 3 hours with Godsmack. And he's a singer, man. So we had the whole VIP pass, and Tommy took that photo.
Nice.
And we had a good time.
Cool.
And we were in the movie together at the Manor. This is the Film Freeway Top 100 Best Reviewed Festival badge. Thank you. So that really felt good. The first time I got that badge from Film Freeway for Avalonia Festival, it's like, man, this hard work is paying off, because it was. The difference with my festival is the website. The website is a killer website. So if people go to distancefromavalon.com, they'll see that I put a lot of time and effort into that website to actually promote the films.
Of course.
You know, to show something. Some festivals, Arthur.
Thank you for doing that, Mike.
You're welcome, buddy. Let's see what's
if
next.
no one else thanks you, it's definitely. I can't thank you enough for the stuff that you do.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's. So we covered some things here. You are moving to Jacksonville.
Yes.
We've seen your acting. People have seen what you're doing in the short film festivals. There's something that you mentioned earlier with your acting guru or your mentor as an acting coach. I know that you met Larry Moss. But talk about maybe like the coaching that you've done with actors.
Oh, sure.
You know, if you want.
I will.
If you,
yeah,
you
let's
know.
talk about it. I started in 2008. I took that, 5 or 6 day. It was a 6-day Barry Primus acting techniques for directors class in Maine. The reason why I wasn't even in the class was because it's a reflection not on Barry, but on the students, or the students that didn't show up. A couple of people didn't show up for the class. The class could not run properly without a certain number of students. The year before and the year before and the year before, Barry had taught that class, and the class was full, 10, 15 people a shot. This is every summer in Maine. What I learned through that, why I even mention that, is because people are getting so into the lighting, the different cameras, the audio, the visual components of film, drones, whatever they can do, they're forgetting, how do you work with actors? How do you set up a rehearsal? How do you block? How do you get emotional character development? All that stuff that Barry teaches that I learned from him, a lot of people have no clue. So you go onto these movie sets and people are stumbling around, they don't know their lines, they haven't rehearsed, no one's even brought up, well, they rehearsed because they spent a couple of days reading their lines by themselves. But what I've learned is if you actually rehearse, if you actually put some time into the rehearsal, you'll get a better movie. When you get to set, instead of people trying to remember their line and getting all hysterical about it, they'll have their lines down and things will move a lot smoother. So that was just the tip of the iceberg of what Barry taught me. But Barry's acting class, I was in there for 6 days, and I left there thinking, I got to share this information with more people. Barry gave me a bunch of scenes from the class, scenes meaning sides from scripts. I took these papers, I put them in a big notebook, and I went down to Rhode Island, and at the time there was a group, a Rhode Island film group that had an acting workshop once a week. There was no, at the time there had been a couple of leaders that came and went, and at the time I was kind of the de facto leader somehow. Like it just was one of those things that developed. There was no leader, I became the de facto leader, and I started implementing these scenes and these lessons from Barry that I learned in Maine to the people in Providence at the Artist Exchange. And people started getting into it. Now, another guy in the class, a guy named Chach, Diashchek, his name went by Chach, he said, Mike, you and I should do an acting class together and charge people for it. Now, what I should, Chach was really saying, Mike, you should run the acting class and I'll take half the money. Yeah, I'll take it right.
But I want the money. I want my money.
But it was
You're going to work for me. You understand, Mike? Okay?
But it was, to give him credit, it was Chach's idea that we break apart and give Chach credit. He had the idea. And sometimes having a good idea is good. We ran the class for 4 weeks. We had Annie Mulhall come in as a special guest on our 4th week. And we did an acting techniques audition class. Now, it was interesting because we probably weren't even qualified to really run an audition class per se. But what I learned in that little experiment with Chach was we got like 12 students. We had a business. We had a business plan. We had a venue. And it worked. You know, like it was successful. And then after that, about 2 or 3 months went by, and I said, you know what, this class was a good experience, this Acting 102 we called it, but I really want to do what Barry did. I don't want to talk about acting audition techniques because we're kind of putting people into the fire. We had a camera set up, we had a monitor, but we're not giving them the coals, we're not giving them the match, we're not giving them the lighter fluid. The components of what makes you a good actor is what I want to teach these people, and I think I can do that because I learned it from Barry. So in February of 2009, I started Core Acting. And the original location was the West Side Arts, which was this offshoot of a church. And they had their own little art house called the West Side Arts. A guy named Scott Axman let me rent it from him for a nominal fee because I was going to the church at the time, Renaissance Church. And we put together, I put together, because that was just me. Now I didn't have Chach, I went on my own. And I charged people a nominal fee, and it got to be a really fun time because I was bringing these scripts to the class. I met one of my best friends, a guy named Larry O'Leary, who became a star of my film Blood Sugar Sedace. Larry was the first student of the first class, and I had a lady named Debbie Gagnon, Lily Spencer, people that I still know this day, and that was 10 years ago. Eventually, I brought that class to my home location of the Brooklyn Coffee and Tea House, or Rhodeywood Studios, and I remember that in one span, I think in 2011, I ran every Monday night for 6 months straight,
Right.
with no break. And people like Lanisha Edmonds, who's done great things. A guy named Devon Cole, who's just back in this area, has done great things. People who maybe they went to one class, maybe went to 20. You know, I've had students who come to many classes and learn a lot, and then some people just come in once or twice, and hopefully they learn something. But yeah, that was core acting. For a while, I did something called Tao Zen acting, which was the art of Zen and creating the inner greatness.
I remember that.
That was going to be my acting class for non-actors, or my acting class that had a touchy-feely thing. Because what happened with core acting, Arthur, is I realized I was putting expectations on people that they were as hungry or as motivated as I was. For some people, it was just a weekly warrior thing. This is their bowling club. For some people, maybe 10, 15, 20%, they were really hardcore into it. I wanted to do another class, Tao Zen acting, which was for the majority of the people that were just kind of weekly warriors that could apply acting techniques to their daily lives and their daily jobs. So that was the two different studies.
The Never Was.
The Never Was is a short video I thought we could share, because the Never Was is kind of, people see me here, I'm having a good time with you, but sometimes when I'm alone and when I'm thinking about my career, I'm thinking about my life, I'm not satisfied. And this is like a representation of the dark side of Mike Messier. Could have been, the would have been, the never was. Let me tell you about the man that came so close, oh so close, but just couldn't quite get it done. What's this, you say? What's that man's name? I cannot recall. The never was name never lives in infamy. The never was name is forgotten.
The Never Was. It never was. The Impeccable.
The Impeccable is a short film, 23 minutes long, not so short film, that we filmed on Cinco de Mayo 2018. We had the first public screening on Cinco de Mayo 2019.
Right.
And I think you were there at the Brooklyn Coffee and Tea House.
Right.
And the reason to film it, once again, to give credit to Mike Gonza, he had this Play Today thing at a Natick, and I was assigned Ashley Shea as one of my actors.
Right.
And I said, man, this lady, you know, she had different photos at different times in her life, and I said, wow, she kind of reminds me of Susan Sarandon from the Rocky Horror Picture Show era.
Right.
And I said, wouldn't it be interesting, like, I said, does this woman have a sense of humor? I never met Ashley before.
Right.
And I wanted to give her something. I was thinking like Cat on a Hot Tent Roof or something like she can sink her teeth into. And she nailed it. And so basically we were assigned actors, but we didn't get our choice of actors.
Right.
And of the three, I really wanted to center her for some reason.
Right.
A year and a half later, Naira, or Naria, as I say, I can't say her name.
But we all know who you mean.
Yeah, we do. So she was here in this seat. She was on Messier Mantra as the guest, and she and I went out afterwards for coffee or something. Right. And she said, "Oh, Mike, shouldn't we do a project together?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we should."
You do a good Naira, by the way. That's good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that.
So I said, let's do. I went in my catalog of scripts that I had already written. I didn't want to write a new script. And I said to myself, what would be a good thing for Naria? Who could I? Right. And I said, you know, I wanted to make that Impeccable thing.
Right.
But I only really wanted Ashley, of the actors that were in the stage version. Like Ashley was really the one that stole it or owned it.
Do we have a clip of that?
Yeah, we have the teaser from the short film.
You have the teaser for
Let's check it out.
The Impeccable.
Man in the Camera Films and Standstill Pictures are proud to present an elegant design of social commentary. A delightful romp into the minds, hearts, souls, and loins of the illustrious, elusive upper crust. Join your friends, the art.
You don't know what it's like to claw, to beg, to even live. Just a bit.
The niece.
I only want what's best for the family, Auntie. For our legacy.
The rogue.
Because while our fresh corpses might one day rot into earth, what will we be?
For this ravishing, yet some might say revolting exercise in excess and intrigue, the impeccable.
The impeccable. Mike Messier.
Well,
good stuff.
Thanks, man. That's the teaser, and me and Tim edited that. And I was actually thinking of the Lord Alfred Hayes from the old World Wrestling Federation.
Right.
He had those voiceovers. Tim has a friend. I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name, but Tim's friend has a really good radio voice, and he did the voiceover of that
cool.
for us.
Yeah.
So the guy's like a professional voice guy, and Tim hooked him up. I wrote the text for that teaser because I wanted it to be different than the film, you know. And if people go to Mike Messier YouTube page, MikeMessier.com, they can see that my teasers. So You're the Guy is another one. The Blood Sugar Sedace trailer. I try to do the trailers a little bit different now than the actual films.
Right.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I got it.
Yeah.
Did we cover most? What do you think? Is there anything else that you want to share with people about yourself? You know, out in the film industry, the arts, theater, film, anything you?
Well, I mean, you know, thanks, man. I mean, as far as sharing, you know, it's kind of like I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to do some work, you know, like, and I guess what I would say, Arthur, I'm not satisfied. I'm not at a point of being happy or being. There's no laurels to rest on.
Right.
You know, if I felt like I was stationary or I was happy with what I'm doing, I would stay in Rhode Island and be here another 10 years and drop dead of a heart attack. But I'm moving to I'm moving to Florida.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not to be morbid, but
right.
at some point, man, when you start seeing, like I said, that image of the cell phone and driving my thumbs on the cell phone, dead, and I'm thinking, okay. What does this teach me? I'm not going to get depressed about this. I had a guy that I worked for a long time just died 2 weeks ago, and I said to myself, I'm not going to let this wave of death. Want to make me enjoy my own life, make my life worth living, in an honor to honor these people that have passed away, because that's what I think would have wanted for me.
Wow.
So my thing now is, man, I need to go to a place where I can have an area that I'm new to.
Right.
And now Jacksonville's going to be there if I'm there or not. LA will be there if I'm there or not. New York will be there if I'm there or not.
Right.
You know, there was the best line I've ever heard from a fellow actor was a friend of mine, Marcia. She did this show. She basically said, "Another ass will fill your seat."
There you go.
So we're all replaceable.
Right.
But I'm taking my ass to Jacksonville, Florida, and we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck to you, Mike. Thank you for letting me host your show, and you as my guest. I'm honored to have done this show for Mike, and
you did a great job, brother. Thank you. Thank you,
man. And I hope you
enjoy
Jacksonville. I'll be down there to visit you, I'm sure.
I'm sure you will be.
All right.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.